There's a quarterback in the NFL that I don't think is getting enough credit. And since we do comparisons, that's kind of that's what sports talk is built on. I'll give you an example. Matthew Stafford, when he got traded from the Lions to the Rams and he won the Super Bowl that year, how many people do you know all of a sudden became Matthew Stafford dick riders and was all, I knew he'd be great, man. I saw the potential since day one.
Well, I think every Detroit fan knew what they had. That's just, Detroit has squandered everything. 3 Hall of Famers already. So I think Detroit fans knew it, and select NFL fans knew it. Like, I know Brian May, shout out.
Joe, if you're watching, yeah. We've always talked about
Stafford. He's always
Stafford.
been a huge fan of Matt Stafford. I've always been a fan. I mean, as much as you can be a fan of a person who doesn't win a lot on a team you're not a fan of.
You just appreciated him.
You knew what he had, and you knew Detroit was doing him dirty. Like, that's all you knew, really. He's a baller, though.
So pretty much the idea of this was to compare one of the quarterbacks, which I mentioned isn't getting enough credit, and is kind of getting, slapped around a little bit by fans of football. Matthew Stafford, 12 years with the Detroit Lions. That's all we're going to focus on right now. Almost a 62.5 completion percentage over those 12 years. 45,109 total yards. And I'll put all these stats up in post. 282 touchdowns, 144 interceptions.
Through 12 seasons, you said?
Through all 12 of those seasons. And I had to go through and do the math, so if I'm 1 or 2 off, it's because I suck at math. My mystery quarterback is Derek Carr.
No, a free agent now.
He's started.
Looking at the Jets, last I heard.
No, he's looking anywhere will give him a job.
That's true.
But I think a lot of people are just dogging on him because he's had a rough past couple seasons. But if you look at his stats, he's been pretty consistent throughout his entire career. And that's what I want to go over. 9 years with the Raiders. He was drafted with the Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders, now free agent. Comparison. Completion percentage, 64.6. Almost 2% higher than Stafford. Yards, obviously he played 3 less years, going to be a little less. 35,222 total yards. 217 touchdowns. And I'll break down the differences later. 217 touchdowns, 99 interceptions. That seems very low.
9 years with the Raiders. Does not sound like he's been there for 9 years. It really doesn't.
So, stats-wise, not bad for 9 years.
Comparable.
But what you got to do is you got to put these people on a level playing field. And instead of doing all the math to take Stafford's numbers down, we'll do the math to bring Derek Carr's numbers up. We're going to essentially give him an extra 3 years he didn't have with the Raiders.
Just take your averages you're getting.
That's exactly what I did. So, let's talk yardage. So, in those 3 years, he needs... So, Matt Stafford, 45,109 minus 35,222 gives you just under 10,000 yards. That's 3,296 yards per year that he would need.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
His lowest yardage in the season was the first year he was drafted and played with the Lions. He had 3,270. Take the average, however way you want it. He's beating it or getting that in those 3 years. Touchdowns, 282 minus 217. That gives you 65. Divided that by 3 years, gives you almost 22, 21 and a half. Only one season was under 20 touchdowns, and he got 19. So take his averages. He's either just barely getting there, on par, or better.
Over.
Literally, there's no way he can go wrong in that one. Take the good with the bad. 144 interceptions minus 99. That gives you 45 interceptions a year. Or, I'm sorry, 45 interceptions in 3 years. 15 interceptions per year. He had 14 these last 2 years, but aside from that, he's kept it in the low double digits. And I can hear it now. You're probably thinking, so what? They're just stats, whatever. But before, I'm a petty person. Before everybody jumps on the train and says, "Oh, I knew Derek Carr was good. I've been saying it for years." I just want everybody to tell me how they feel about Derek Carr's situation and what you think of him as a player.
And I remember a couple years ago, I wasn't really dogging on Carr. I was just saying how, he's not a winner. And that's not a knock on him because quarterbacks don't win games. Teams win games. Corey felt differently. I will say that. About 2 or 3 years ago, I specifically remember Corey was riding a body part of Derek Carr's. I wasn't.
Shoulder.
But I do. So I had trouble throwing last year. But no, I do think wherever he goes, someone's going to get a steal because I think Carr was good. The Raiders team was bad. And last year we did our preseason pick'ems before the season even started. I had Raiders going pretty far. And that was due to Derek Carr, them getting Devontae Adams, their offense just being good as a whole. Brandon Jacobs, they got some playmakers out there. Granted, most playmakers they get end up getting locked up eventually. But the team right now was good. The only thing they needed to improve was the defense. The thing that really sucked, the defense took a step back.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to take a step up. We were wrong. And I think they're kind of taking all of it out on Derek Carr. I think the Raiders organization is kind of taking it out on Derek Carr and using him as a scapegoat as to why they were so bad.
That is literally the best way to put that. And I'm not saying once he gets traded that he's going to instantly win a Super Bowl, because I don't think that. I've always said teams need time to gel. It was a miracle with Stafford. They also had a great team. Everybody and their mom was on that team doing well. That was just crazy. But you need that year and a half to figure out what your team is going to be. What I am saying is I think he can be just as good as Matt Stafford was when he got traded with a good coach.
He can sling it.
I have a name on here that I all thought about last second. Mike Vrabel. Now,
with Tennessee?
Now, I'm not saying you just throw... I can't even think of his name. Who's the quarterback? Ryan Tannehill, yeah.
But they also have Malik Willis.
I was going to say, I don't think they just throw them to the curb. But what I'm saying is Baltimore needs a quarterback if they're not keeping Lamar.
It could shake up a whole lot.
And Harbaugh is a dog of a coach. Has been for years.
And Derek Carr's a team. If your team is good, your defense is stacked, you can sign a Derek Carr and be like, I'm set at quarterback.
We're making a run.
Yeah.
A good run.
Derek Carr's not that person that when you see him at quarterback, you're like, oh, God, this is going to be bad.
You're not
3 interception game.
You're not going to still keep looking for a quarterback after you have him.
And Devontae Adams is the perfect person to look at that. He was playing with a Hall of Famer. Hands down, Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famer. Everyone knows it. There's no debate between it. Hall of Famer. Devontae Adams' numbers were amazing. He gets moved over to Raiders, and we think, oh, man, now Devontae Adams is no longer the man of consistency we think he's going to be because he downgrades from Aaron Rodgers to Carr. And then look what Devontae Adams does. Granted, Jared Stidham did the same thing. Threw it to Devontae Adams. He can come down with the ball. But I'm just saying, Derek Carr, he needs to be respected a little bit more. I don't like the Raiders. I have nothing for him. But Derek Carr, man, I don't feel he should have just been released like that.
Yeah.
It's a crazy move.
Yeah. You have everybody talking all this dirt on him, and then they literally just said, all right, we're done.
Well,
See
we
ya.
can probably name 6 starters in the league right now that are worse.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling, and if we got time, I'd like to get into some of these teams who would benefit greatly from having a Derek Carr. You look at the Jets. They're fumbling through
course.
quarterback after quarterback. They don't know who to throw out there. One day, Mike White looks like the savior. The next day, he looks like a scrub. Same with Zach Wilson. One day, he looks like a hero. Then the rest of the season, he looks like a scrub. So, I mean, Jets right away is the main thing. That's the main rumor mill that I have been hearing anyways, is the Jets.
New Orleans.
New Orleans is another good one. They've been riding
And
Andy
I
Dalton.
heard that he as in Derek Carr, visited New Orleans, but they shot him down because they didn't have anything to trade. Now they don't have to trade.
And think of the weapons he would have in New Orleans.
Good run game, bunch of receivers, solid defense.
Good run game, depending Alvin
Well,
Kamara's.
yeah.
I mean that organization's usually been pretty good about getting one or two runners with the ball moving. But now no more Sean Payton there.
I don't think that's irrelevant. I think that's irrelevant. Obviously, you want him there, but with the team that they have around him, somebody like Derek Carr,
They've been a stale team for a couple years now. Just stale.
They also don't have a quarterback.
Not doing terrible, but not doing good either. Yeah.
Who are you taking? Derek Carr,
Or Andy
Dalton, or Jameis Winston?
Was it Winston that they had to choose from?
It was before him, yeah. He got
that's
hurt.
That's right.
I'm
taking Derek Carr.
I'm taking Derek Carr
yeah.
all day, every day.
If you can try to squeak by with Andy Dalton, throw Derek Carr in there and see what he can do. I mean,
no, that would be good. But now Tampa needs a quarterback.
I was just about to say, what's some other teams? Tampa's another big one.
Possible Miami.
You don't think
whether
Tua?
or not Tua stays, and the dude's on his last leg, gotta be.
One
more hit. Like one more hit, he might be
That's
done.
got to
for
be
good.
a concern for Miami. I know they have what's that rookie's name? Sky Moore, was it? Was it Moore?
No, that's. I don't remember his name. I know who you're talking about, though.
The rookie that came in back place of Tua and ended up giving Bills a good run for their money.
Too, right?
That was the year before, I thought.
Where's Bridgewater at now, then?
Vikings, I think.
Oh, you might be right.
I think. I'm not. That's another good team.
Yeah.
Why did we not hear about the Vikings nearly all? Yeah, we did. Kirk Cousins is on that team.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's because he's just good enough to keep his job. He'll never be any better, and they'll never let him go. They'll never even think about firing.
Kirko chains, boys. That was the inspiration for this chain right here too. But that's another team, Vikings. If they wanted to come off the Kirk train, I know that for some reason the Vikings kind of rallied behind Kirk, despite his talent. And I know we're kind of not giving Kirk the respect he deserves either, but it's about Derek Carr.
Yeah.
It's about Derek Carr, okay?
I said, I came up with one the other day. I was like, if Arizona is smart, they kick Kyler to the curb and pick up Derek Carr.
Kyler's going to eventually be a pro video gamer. Watch. He will be. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying that's where seems like the love lies for him.
Yeah.
He likes going out there playing football, but he'd rather be at home playing video games. He likes streaming and that stuff. So I think that's going to be easier over time with the NFL. The more he gets injured, the more he'll be like, oh, well, I can't really get injured while playing video games. It's healthier for me. I mean, there's no time off like that I have to be forced to take. And if the pay ends up being good eventually while streaming with esports and everything, I think it's a good choice for Kyler.
I see you have, is that Mariota right there? It is. Yeah. Falcons thinking about it. Falcons, I know they just drafted Ryder, however say his name.
Which he didn't look the greatest either, but that's another reason. That's reason.
You put Derek Carr in there behind, or not behind, but
in front
beside Cordell.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice.
Talk about a threat.
Yeah. I mean, Derek Carr, he will thrive next year in the league. You watch. As long as he doesn't sign a backup spot. And I think that's up to him. Before we get off the Derek Carr thing, I do want to say he was into the Pro Bowl, which is crazy that a Pro Bowler got released.
Yeah.
That's how crazy
his comment. Did you hear his comment?
Yeah, exactly what I wanted to get into. So I was trying to find the real quote, but I couldn't find it real fast. But something about how he tore it up.
He was throwing touchdowns.
Yes, and he said, well, maybe if I would have played like that with the Raiders, I'd still be on the team. kind of shading himself and the Raiders organization at the same time, but
That's funny. I love to see people like that.
his
like,
humor, he has a sense of humor. He doesn't care. He probably doesn't lose any sleep out of this.
It is what it is.
Maybe, but maybe. I mean, if I got cut by an NFL team, I'd probably lose a little sleep. But that's just me.
But yeah, those are our thoughts on Derek Carr. Let us know. And like I said, I'm not assuming he goes on and wins a Super Bowl next year. If he does it, cool. Because I want to see how many people come out and be like, "Oh yeah, he's my fifth favorite quarterback. Always was." Like
My fifth favorite.
like like I said, I'm petty. I just like to call these people out before they say anything. But let us know down in the comments what you think of Derek Carr, regardless of if you love him, hate him, can't stand the guy, whatever it may be. Let us know what you think down in the comments.